But they may be here for that too, because they've been, let me go look.
Yeah, that's what happened, right?
I will, in my effort to be extremely polite and kind to you, agree with you, knowing full well that I have to ride in the car with you 3.5 hours tomorrow and 3.5 hours on Friday.
Possibly dinner?
So dinner's not a problem, but 3.5 hours in a confined space presents
Well, you know what?
problems.
I'm going to make sure my computer's all charged up. And I took Vern's update today, so I'll read it to you in the car. So we'll both get updated.
Okay.
3.5 hours of legislative update. What do you think of that?
My back.
I think I'll make an appointment to have some
We
more
ready?
people.
Marge, you ready?
Yeah.
Won't even have to use the gavel this time.
Right.
She's not. She's trying to get her phone.
Okay. The March 23rd meeting of the School Board of Charlotte County is called to order. The business conducted at our formal meetings of the school board is to help us achieve our mission and our vision of student success. This evening, we have Dr. Donna Widmeyer sitting in the superintendent's chair. That's part of Dr. David Gaylor's training program for future superintendents, and we're very glad to have her here sitting in, and Dr. Gaylor is in the audience. This evening, we are going to have our Teacher of the Year, Jean Marquez, and our Support Employee of the Year, Phil. Come on up and join us, lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Dr. Widmeyer, are there any additions or corrections for this evening's agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We have one addition on F2G, Personnel Addendum Number 1.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Personnel Addendum Number 1 for item F2G. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have reports, and we start with the Regional Science and Inventors Fair recognition.
Yes, and Jackie Speak will come forward, and as she's coming forward, we will go down front for that, as well as for the Teacher of the Year and Support Employee of the Year.
Say I had Dr. Gaylor, so I said, Dr. Widmeyer, is this, can everyone hear me? Dr. Widmeyer and school board members. First of all, thank you for giving the Division of Learning the opportunity to recognize the students who received awards at the Thomas Alva Edison Regional Science and Inventors Fair this past January. We had more than 450 students competing down there from 4 different counties, and this year they awarded more than $300,000 in scholarships, research opportunities, and cash awards. So lots of wonderful opportunities. Students, of course, judged on creativity, problem solving, scientific thought, originality, observation skills, and most importantly, defending their research to the judges through interviews. This year, I say this every year, we sent almost 100 students, which is great. So we were almost a quarter of the fair. And 65 of our students received awards. 10 of our students received scholarships. And this is, 6 of those scholarships were 2 full-year scholarships from Edison College, totaling approximately $5,000 per student. 4 of our students received full 4-year scholarships from Florida Gulf Coast University, amounting to about $11,000 each. These 4 students will advance to the State Science Fair in a couple weeks in April, which is in Orlando. But before we recognize the students, I'm going to come around here. Before we recognize the students, I do want to thank the school-based science fair coordinators who really go above and beyond for regional science fair. The paperwork is tremendous, as they know, because working with bacteria, working with human subjects, working with vertebrate animals requires a lot of precautions. So the paperwork is intense, and we very much stick to the rules to make sure that students are being safe, and that's really the bottom line with the paperwork. But it is a massive amount of work, and I do appreciate it. They go, again, that extra mile and really encourage our students to think outside the box. I'm going to call them up one at a time, but I just want to go through those school coordinators. John Vallone at Murdoch Middle School, Dave Alexander and Jody Boer at Punta Gorda Middle School, Amanda Mitchell at Port Charlotte Middle School, Ann Williams and Andy Green at Ainger Middle School, Judy Tornwall at Port Charlotte High, Jennifer Stringer, who was their first year this year, doing science fair and teaching physics, so I can appreciate that, at Lemon Bay. And then Jason Wickman from Charlotte High School. I also want to say before I call them up that you could see it's not quite packed. The good news is our kids are busy. We've got Model UN, and we've got freshman orientation for Ainger and Lemon Bay. So a lot going on tonight, and of course spring break. But those of you who are here, we appreciate you taking the time. And I'm going to call you up by school. And the first guinea pig is going to be Port Charlotte Middle School and Amanda Mitchell. Ooh, thank you. Who is going to stand here? If the Port Charlotte Middle School kids would please come to the front and stand right here. Now, please. We're going to do it by school. So you guys are showing everyone what they need to do. Okay. So when I call your name, if you would shake the school board members' hands and the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, and then you're going to get a certificate from Miss Mitchell. Okay? Okay. Okay, Port Charlotte Middle. Okay, so I have Abby or Lissa. See, I never know who they are. Lindsay, Zachary, tell me when I say your name. Alex, Natalie Kislev. Thank you. Mathematics was her project, and she received a second place category award. So congratulations to you. This is James Essler. His project was in environmental science, and he received a first place in his category and a 2-year scholarship to Edison College. Do I have... congratulations. So, just the two? We appreciate them being here. Do I have anyone here from Murdoch Middle School? It's Murdoch to me tonight. That's okay. Murdoch Middle School, we had 3 honorable mentions and 2 third places. So, again, great job to them. Do we have anyone here from Punta Gorda Middle School? We have busy kids. Okay. Punta Gorda Middle School, we had 4 honorable mentions, 3 third place categories, and a second place in the category. Ainger. And I know that Mr. Sweeterman is here to pass out their certificates. Are you guys missing orientation tonight? Oh, okay. Okay. Do I have, is it CJ, Robert, Jake? I just want to say your name. Jake Robinson, whose project was in earth science and received an honorable mention for that project. Congratulations. Zach Messingale, engineering, electrical, and mechanical, received a first place and is going to state, so has also received a 4-year scholarship to Florida Gulf Coast University. We did also have 2 winners for the Inventors Fair from Ainger, Brian Delaney and Laura Delaney, who I know couldn't be here with us tonight. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Congratulations. Port Charlotte High. Miss Tornwall. Yeah, busy kids. You tell... I don't know. Do we have anyone from Port Charlotte High? Port Charlotte High? Yeah. Come on up. What are you doing? You let Miss Tornwall up here by herself. Nick Kokolski, yes you do. Yep, you have to shake your hand. Yes, who did a project in environmental science and received the Lee County Mosquito Control Internship Award, which is excellent resume builder. Congratulations. So if you would shake their hand. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great opportunity. Do we have anyone here from Lemon Bay? Because they're all at the orientation. Lemon Bay, just want to say there were 2 honorable mentions, 4 third places, and we do have a first place winner who is going to state and did receive the 4-year scholarship. That is Mariah Cochran, who did her project in plant science. So that was number 2 going to state. Charlotte High School, I know he's here. Model UN. Thank you, Mr. Wickman. Do we have Juliet? Juliet McClelland for her project in physics and astronomy, who got an honorable mention in her category. So congratulations. Great job, physics. We also had a first place, Raina Beagle. I know she couldn't be for the Inventors Fair. She did get she created a 911 baby seat. There was an actual invention. It's really cute. So she did receive first place for that. We have Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez, Behavioral and Social Science, second place in his category. Congratulations. Elias, right? You go by E.J. Quintos, who had his project in mathematics. He got the U.S. Metric Association Award. First place is one of our state finalists and did receive the 4-year scholarship to FGCU, so congratulations. Charlotte High School also has one more student, Andrew Paquette, engineering materials and bioengineering, is also received the 4-year scholarship and is going to state final. So we're really proud of them. So because of our busy students, I may have beaten my record, and so congratulations, you guys, in a couple weeks. Good luck. So thank you.
For our next report, Mr. Riley will be presenting that. Just want to make note, too, that this is a real special report, the Teacher of the Year, Support Employee of the Year, and we have some of our sponsors in the audience. We have Mary Fred Clemens, who puts it all together for us, and Dr. Dave Klein, and Jack Williams, who came all the way from Orlando. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Widmeyer. I'm going to introduce the Support Employee Finalists and Support Employee of the Year this year. One of the great things about this program is getting to go meet them. So many people in the district you don't know. You get to see them on the job, but more than that, going with Dr. Gaylor and the school board members to present to them the notification that they've been made the Final 5. Watching the reaction of the kids, watching the reaction of I think Philip, who was our winner, I think became King Philip, if I'm correct, when he got back to the school. But and I was with Mary Ellen Meeks, the driver, and the kids they're just tiny because they just love her. You can just see it. And as you go on, we go into cafeteria at Peace River, and Jane Curran's in there, and it's pulling on her, pulling Miss Curran, and just each and every person. And Lori Giroux, I think well, if Donette Todd doesn't run L.A. Angel, Lori does run Charlotte High School. But it was so I'd like just to introduce these folks and have them come up, and then I'd like Dr. Klein and Mary Fred, if they would. From Peace River Elementary School, paraprofessional, one of the finalists was Jane Curran. From the Transportation Department, despite the leadership of Mr. Duckworth, Mary Ellen Meek does a wonderful job every day of getting the kids to school safely. One thing about the bus drivers, they are the first person that the children see in the morning, and they set the pace. And watching the kids, every child that came off her bus came off with a big smile. And that's just amazing. Lori Giroux from Charlotte High School. And Donette Todd, who trained, I believe, 5 principals at L.A. Anger. She did. One thing the committee spoke about is the difficulty when you get down to making a decision. Any one of these folks, they represent the characteristics and traits of all the great support people in our county and all they do for kids and they do for the community in their school. And to pick one person, it's a very difficult task and challenge. And there's a lot of, wring of hands and like that. But what they try and do is pick someone who best represents all. And that is Philip James from Murdoch Middle School. I'd like to introduce Mary Fred Clemens and Dr. David Klein from the Charlotte Local Education Foundation.
The Charlotte Local Education Foundation is delighted every year to be able to sponsor the Teacher and Support Employee of the Year program. And Dr. Klein, our president, will present the real checks. We gave him the fake checks.
This is the real check. It's not made out of cardboard, and it's not this big. But this one is negotiable. And it's my honor to give it to you. Thank you so much for all your help.
Thank you.
Regina, quit smiling so big over there. It's difficult, again, when you talk about people who do so much for kids in our schools, and you go from school to school and you see all the people and all the activity that takes place, and the in parento loco, is that what it is, Mrs. Dr. Widmeyer, the phrase? It's close. All right. For me, that works. Thank you. I always go for every time I'm up here, I have board members sitting in the seats going. But anyway, these people do everything. They just do it all. It's just amazing to watch. And again, going into the classrooms to notify them, to watch the expressions on their faces, to see the kids, to see their cohorts at the school. When you're nominated for a Teacher of the Year, that makes your students the students of the year, and they believe that. And your whole school rallies around you, and it's a really joyous occasion. And what I've asked of them is just to come up for a brief moment and talk about when they were first nominated, when Dr. Gaylor and the board members walked in the room, and then the celebration, how it made them feel. So I'm going to do something probably that's never happened in her life. Denise Zemak from Liberty, you're first, with a Z in her last name.
Well, that is really a first. I'm always last. I don't know how much we were really supposed to say, but when people give me the opportunity, I take it. Excuse my voice. Thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm just going to run through something I put together today based on what Mr. Riley asked me to do. Excuse me. I have to admit, when I received the letter from Dr. Gaylor that I was nominated for Teacher of the Year, I was very surprised. I remember thinking, I just come to work each morning and do what I can to be the best that I can to make my kids the best that they can be. Upon mentioning this to a friend and a coworker, she urged me to continue on with the rest of the process, even if it did mean more paperwork for me. Weeks had passed, and I hadn't heard anything after I turned in my initial packet to Mike's office, and I just thought my opportunity had passed this time around. Maybe another year was going to be my year. I put the nomination out of my mind and kept doing what it was I did every day. That being said, you can imagine the surprise on my face the day that Dr. Gaylor and his team showed up in my classroom. Honestly, the first thought that ran through my head was, oh no, this is a fire inspection day, and I didn't hide the microwave and coffee pot. But when I realized why they were there, I really was shocked. Tom Gifford even said, and I'll remember this because I haven't heard it a lot in reference to myself, that I was honestly at a loss for words, and I truly was. My class eagerly agreed with me, with Mr. Gifford, that they didn't know that I didn't know what to say. They were like, whoa, she doesn't know what to say. The memory that I take away from that moment is something I will always cherish. The look on my kids' faces, their excitement. They were asking questions. They couldn't wait to hear more about this opportunity of ours. They kept referring to it as. They were clapping. They were cheering. They were absolutely my biggest fans. As this whole process began to unfold, so did my nerves. And my students were right there with me, though. They were so excited to help out, eager, full of questions. They kept saying things like, who's coming to watch us today? And when are they coming? Did they like us? My favorite was, Ms. Zemak, we are so gonna win this. And I'm not kidding. After every visitor, they were convinced. To bring us further to today's date, upon arriving to the Teacher of the Year award ceremony, my nerves still had the best of me. I wanted to make everyone proud and was concerned that if I didn't win, I'd be letting those who believed in me down. This feeling lasted until Dr. Gaylor began to read my introduction and my video began on the big screen. I felt like a celebrity. From that point on, I couldn't get a silly grin off of my face. To say that I didn't care if I hadn't won would be a lie. But all the stress at that one moment was just released. And I knew that even if I wasn't the winner, it really didn't matter. Being in the company of such accomplished teachers, accomplished staff members, people with so much more experience in this district than I have was an absolute honor. Consequently, the most meaningful part of the evening for me was looking out into the crowd of faces when I saw the pride on my family's faces and the joy in the people that I work with, the people that I call my Liberty family and my friends, was another memory that will hold with me forever. My Liberty family still likes to remind me that they were the largest group of supporters in the house that night. And I don't know if that's the case, but they were certainly the loudest and the most loving. So now, last paragraph, I promise. As I laid in my bed that night, not to get too personal, but I still had this silly grin on my face. Couldn't get the excitement out of my body. I just was buzzing with energy and excitement at the night's events. Unfortunately, I knew the hardest part of the process wasn't over with yet. I had to go in and break the news that we didn't win to my class. So that morning, I just came right out with it. And fortunately, the kids' reaction was very similar to the same day that Dr. Gaylor and his group came into the classroom initially. They were clapping and cheering and so excited and happy, and their words were, it's okay not to be the winner because being nominated was just like winning anyway. So their optimism and their naturally positive attitude is why I do what I do every day and try to be the best at it. Thank you.
Nancy Thame from Punta Gorda Middle School contacted me today, and she had a family emergency and will not be able to attend tonight. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce from Lemon Bay High School, Jennifer Kelly. And the same thing out there, the high school kids, I think, might get more excited than the elementary school kids because that's their teacher and that's their theater manager and their theater director. And they were jumping up and cheering. It was just a great day out there. And Jen, if you would like to share.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for, I think you really go out of your way to make teachers and support staff feel really important and special and needed, and it makes a lot of the sacrifices in the 100-hour plus work weeks worth it. I think sometimes when every once in a while you're recognized, and that's a little bit what I took it as. In addition, I have to say that I was actually humbled by this whole experience. I didn't expect at all to be nominated, and the only reason I filled out the application was because my students guilted me into all the work they had to do just to nominate me. So I did reluctantly fill out the essays. And it actually was a wonderful process because it made me really stop and think about what has my experience been like. And one of the essays that I really enjoyed writing about was on the tales of some of the awards and such. Our program has one recently. It asked what was one of the most memorable moments. And it brought me back to when I first started teaching and brought my ragtag group of thespians to our first festival that I brought them to in 2001. And there was a lot of dissension in the group, and they were fighting, and they were having all these problems. And I brought them together and sat them down and reminded them that the entire point of the arts and to perform and to experience is to affect your audience, and how transcendental the power of the arts can be to get out of yourself for a moment and to really work together as a group and affect your audience. And there was like silence in the room. And all of a sudden, this group came together and not only won the festival and got superior ratings, but went on to state, but more importantly, carried that with them for years. In fact, one of them was the vice president of her senior class and used it as her speech at graduation. And at that moment, I actually learned a lesson myself, was how much power we have as educators to influence and inspire our students. And so just having to write these essays was a great learning experience for me and really made me stop and think, am I a good teacher? And what makes somebody a good teacher? And how can I be a more loving and caring, compassionate, understanding? Because as we all know, they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And it's something I take to heart. And I really appreciate this exposure. I appreciate the gratitude and the experience. But more than anything, I appreciate the learning lesson that I'm getting from it. And as Albert Einstein said, I just want to close on this. I never teach my students. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. Thank you.
And from Vineland Elementary. Her kids were jumping and cheering and hugging, and it is amazing. Dr. Gaylor, is it a great moment? It truly is. I'd like to introduce you to Lisa Arrett.
Hello. Yes, they were jumping and screaming and cheering while I just stood there with my mouth open, and I couldn't believe it. But when I received that letter notifying me that I had been nominated, there was really no contemplation at all, because I've got strong feelings about this, that if someone in the community feels that I'm worthy of such recognition, I just feel a professional obligation to continue with the application process and move forward. And it's just a good time for self-reflection, and the essays are a good outlet to do that. But you complete the essays, you submit them, and you think, okay, that was really nice. But you don't expect to see Dr. Gaylor and the board members and your assistant principal and others coming into the room at 2:35 in the afternoon, when dismissal was at 2:55 in the afternoon. And I think the first thing I said, I don't know that I said it out loud, I hope I didn't, but I think I just said, are you kidding me? I was really shocked, because I was honored last year as well to be a top 5 finalist, and so not only to have them come in once, but come in 2 years in a row, it just added to the whole shock value of that entire experience for me, and it was an indescribable feeling. I know that when Dr. Gaylor announced to my students that I was being recognized as a finalist, there were cheers, there was clapping, there were hugs, there were students that were like, well, we already knew that, what's the big deal? And so of course you're humbled and you say, you know what, that there are a lot of great teachers out there, and this is a huge honor, but they were very, very excited. Through the entire process, I received some of the most touching cards and emails from my friends, colleagues, and most importantly, the families of the students that I work with. And the things that they were saying, it just kind of made you go, wow, this is why we do what we do. It was phenomenal. But one of the highlights was actually the production of the video. And I simply explained to the kids, this is not my classroom, this is our classroom, and you need to play a huge role in the development of this video because it needs to be a true representation of what a typical day is like in our classroom, because we need to showcase that so the community can see what you do all the time. Oh, they were all over it. They loved it. They were involved from the very beginning, from the filming to the editing to music selection, everything, and they had a blast with it. And because of their involvement, that's what made me so proud to have that played the night of the celebration, because it truly was representative of what we do together every day. So fast forwarding to the celebration itself, I remember I was just proud to represent my school, Vineland, and I was proud to see that some of my students were actually able to attend. I just stood up there thinking, now periodically I admit I would lose focus and say, these shoes were a horrible choice. My feet are killing me. And then I'd refocus, and then I would think, it doesn't matter because we're all representative of countless dynamic and talented teachers in Charlotte County. We're just a sampling, and so it could be anybody. They could announce anyone's name, and each person was just as worthy as the next of the recognition, and so it really didn't matter. What I will say is that I am truly appreciative of everyone that was involved in the process and making this celebration such a special and memorable experience, because it is definitely one I will carry forever. So thank you to everyone that was involved in making that such a wonderful experience. So thank you.
Just listening just shows the power of teaching and the impact it has, not only on the students, but parents and community members and people that you work with. Our final person tonight is our Teacher of the Year. She's from Port Charlotte Middle School, Spanish teacher, and her name is Jeannie Marquez. And Jeannie, I'd like you to come up, and I'd like Dr. Klein, if he would, and then I'd like you to speak your mind.
Speak my mind.
Oh, wait.
Well, it will be hard for me to top what my illustrious colleagues have just gone over, all the emotions that go through this whole process. There's just two highlights that I want to stress. We all were observed for 1 week. We had 7 people walking through our rooms. And I'm a veteran teacher. I consider myself to be a veteran teacher, but 7 people in 1 week was like, wow. Totally stressed me out, was extremely nervous, and I didn't feel good about it, to tell you the truth. When each person left, I would say to myself, what a failure. The kids really, the kids weren't really exactly the way I wanted them to be, and maybe they didn't interact the way I wanted them to be. I was a failure, et cetera, et cetera. So I went into this whole night, the ceremony night, not with very high aspirations. When I was announced, I was shocked. If you had told me that I would be up here a year ago, today, I would not have believed you, but here I am. And I just want to say that some people that did observe me in my room that week came up to me after I was announced. And what they had to say absolutely blew me away. We loved your class. They were so enthusiastic. Their feedback was so positive, and I just want to thank this whole Teacher of the Year process because I have been re-energized. I believe in myself again and what I'm doing with kids, and I needed that presence of an outside person to be able to tell me that I'm doing something right. So thank you so much for that whole stressful process, but now in retrospect, awesome process. Thank you. And just lastly, obviously when I came back to my school, I was totally embraced. They went all out, banners in the hallways, a gift a period for a day, a luncheon in my honor. The kids were so warm and loving and so proud of me as I was of them, because I am nothing without my students. But there is one segment of our school population that I was unprepared for their reaction, and that is our Hispanic population. Kids that I don't even have in class came to my hallway. And our school, our great staff, made a banner for me above my door that says in 2 languages, Teacher of the Year, Maestra del Año. And when they would come to congratulate me, I saw it in their eyes, I heard it in their voices, the pride. It was almost a validation of their culture, their language. And it made me proud, too, that I am teaching a subject that matters in Charlotte County, that you can teach Spanish and still be a Teacher of the Year. You don't have to teach language arts or science or whatever. And I know that our school district has done a great deal of goodwill in the Hispanic community, because it's just this sense, emails from people I didn't even know in this county with Hispanic last names congratulating me. So if I can spread that goodwill and our school district can spread that goodwill, then we've done a very, very good job. And thank you all for this wonderful process and for your support.
Well, it's an honor to present this to you. I told you that my mother taught first grade for 30 years. She figured she taught about 1,000 kids how to read, and came to Florida, retired, and taught adult reading challenge people, Spanish-speaking reading challenge people, how to read. So the chain goes on unbroken. I'm really just absolutely proud to be able to do this, represent the district and Clef, and give you this check. And this is a real check. This is not the cardboard one.
Great. I'll accept it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Mary
much.
Fred, would you like to say something?
Thank you very much, Mary Fred.
We're so proud to know each of you, and that you make a difference each day. And we appreciate our board members and sponsors being here. Frank Bell is here, and Jack Williams. And thank you to everybody for this opportunity.
It just, from everything you've heard tonight, just shows the power of teaching and what it does for kids and how it makes a difference in people's lives.
What a great way to start our meetings. It just makes you feel so good. Yeah. And we have no old business this evening, so we will move to item F, new business, the consent agenda.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the superintendent recommends approval of the consent agenda as...
Second.
There you go. Someone's in a hurry. It's been moved and seconded. The consent agenda be approved as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item F2A, the budget amendment number 1 through 6 for the 2009-2010 year. Approval is requested for the budget amendments numbers 1 through 6.
I'm ready.
Okay.
As you know, the budget is set at the beginning of the year, and the report at this time of year just reflects the changes that have been made to the budget. So I'm going to ask Mr. Fran Brosser to come forward and go over some of the highlights with you.
Thank you, Superintendent Widmeyer, Dr. Widmeyer.
Thank you.
School board members, what a tough bunch of people. The staff that you had here tonight, the teachers, makes you proud, doesn't it? Makes you proud. I've been putting a little thing on the bottom of my emails lately. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. we saw some tough people here. And they're going to do a fantastic job no matter what happens. So, regardless of these figures that we're going to talk about tonight, you have the staff behind you that's going to carry out the mission. No problem. Everybody hear me now? It's too bad. There's 6 budget amendments here, and there's two budget amendments that will be coming to you that are not here tonight. They're probably conspicuously not here tonight, and those 2, actually maybe 3, but I know there's going to be 2, is capital outlay and your hurricane recovery funds. Those, as you know, we're trying to get some bond money in here and so forth, so we purposely delayed some of those, trying to get a little more information and so forth. But those will probably be coming to you the meeting in April. That's our goal. But what we have here is there's 6 budget amendments. The first budget amendment 1 has to do with our federal project funds. These are the funds that we typically receive from the federal government, like our Title I, Title II monies, our IDEA money for children with disabilities and so forth. These are basically just amendments that have came through since we initially passed our budget, and this is just adjusting those based on dollar amounts. Occasionally there'll be a new budget that comes through, but majority of these are ones that are entitlement funds that we've received. Budget amendment number 2 has to do with our American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds that we receive through the state. Part of these funds are actually incorporated within our state finance education program dollars, but we're required by law by the federal government to keep track of these dollars separately. And that's what we have done here. 2 of those funds, they have been adjusted downward on our behalf by the state, showing a slight reduction. And then in addition to that, we've received some additional funds. One for the Title I school improvement funds and another one for technology enhancement funds. None of these are major changes to our budget, but they do provide some changes. Then if you go to amendment number 3, this is probably the amendment that you'd be most interested in out of all of those. This is our general operating budget. What this amendment does, and you've had a chance to look through this, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details of this, but all the activity that's taken place since we passed our budget in September. It allows for changes that have taken place for our actual FTE counts. We've made our adjustments for our final Florida Education Finance Program through here. As you know, we had set aside a revenue shortfall for FTEs of about $1.3 million. As of the October counts and the adjustments through the third state calculation, we used about $1 million of that. We still have sitting in reserve about $250,000 there. And we've left that in reserve because we haven't actually modified it. We know we've lost some FTE in February also, and that will be flowing through here in our next calculation. We've also had some mid-year salary adjustments. As you know, we are on a hiring freeze, and we have put holds on hiring. Once a position is vacated, we've kept that vacated unless it's absolutely necessary, and there has not been many of those filled. Many of the teaching positions have been filled by temporaries that were hired through the end of the year. So we have saved in that area of about $1.5 million. Okay. There's been many other adjustments on here. Our stabilization expense funds are down about we transferred additional dollars because of the lapse that took place in our stabilization funds. We were able to transfer some additional funds, salaries from our operating budget to those funds. So we saved another $348,000 there. We've had some other adjustments in here. Let's see. We eliminated some interest. Our interest income is down substantially. We originally had budgeted $400,000, which is already down substantially from what we have in the past. But it's $375,000 down from the $400,000 we originally budgeted. To compensate for those, we have not had to go out for tax anticipation notes this year. We've been able to use some of our capital dollars and so forth, which is perfectly permitted to cover some of those expenditures within the general fund on a short-term basis. So we saved about $376,000 there. In addition to that, we transferred in the process of our employee benefits from our insurance program for employees. In going into the self-insurance program, we funded a $2 million liability or a balance to or transferred that to our insurance benefit program. Our hope is that the actual premiums that we're charging for the program will cover the expenditures for those programs. As you know, being in a self-insured program, we pay the claims ourselves out of the premiums that we charge ourselves and our employees for their dependent coverage. For any COBRA retirees, all that goes into our self-insured fund, and we self-funded up front $2 million to cover any excess that we may have, hoping that we won't have to use any of that. But we can't be in a position where come the end of the year where we haven't covered the claims through our premiums and not have funds to cover those. So we are covering those up front to the tune of $2 million. That's what that represents. When you take a look at our operating budget, when you look at the beginning unappropriated fund balance, it was approximately, find it here, about $9.7 million. We have been able to, by the steps that we have taken this year to save funds, we've been able to increase that by about $500,000, about $500,000 increase to our unappropriated fund balance, even though we've received other setbacks, reduction in funding from the state for our FEFP dollars and so forth. So we're on a positive track to maintain our fund balance and build it as much as we can. Our total fund balance has been reduced by approximately $500,000, even though we've been able to increase our total fund balance, non-reserved, plus our unappropriated, has decreased about $500,000. And those are pretty much the basic activity within our operating budget. There are many line items here that change. We've received grants and so forth, and I'm not going to go into all those details for you on that. As far as the next budget amendment goes, that one relates to our food service fund, and basically what we've done is we've just recognized changes in revenues, and we revised our estimates of appropriation, trying to take into account our lapse money within the food service program. In addition, also recognizing the increase in the benefit cost to the school board for the cafeteria plan, our self-insured plan, and so forth. Amendment 5 is related to our employee benefits program itself. It shows the changes that took place when we converted over at mid-year, December 31st, from an insured plan with Aetna to our self-insured plan. And these are what the changes pretty much are showing. There's not a big change in the dollar amounts. It's just basically on how we're funding things differently. If you were to look at some of the backup for this fund, you will see that we went from purchase services. We have decreased our purchase services. This is paying premiums to Aetna by about $6 million, and offset that by payment of claims on behalf of our employees of about $8 million. So you can see it's just a shift in the method that we're handling our employee benefits program, from being an insured plan to a self-insured plan. The last amendment that we have is strictly to recognizing a refunding in our state Board of Education bonds that we have done over in the past. We receive money from the state for our gross receipts tax, for motor vehicle license plates tax. Part of that, we have bonded that in the past. Well, the state's actually refunded those bonds, and this just reflects this refunding. Actually, over the long haul, this should save us dollars in here. It's not a major impact to the district at all. Those are the amendments that we have for tonight, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Any questions? You've done such a fine job of educating us over the years that we get it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the recommended action?
The superintendent recommends approval of the budget amendments 1 through 6 for the 2009-2010 school year.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve budget amendments number 1 through 6 for the 2009-10 school year. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have item F2B, the construction manager at risk, contract approval for Meadow Park Elementary remodel, renovation, and new construction.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that Dave Dale is in the audience this evening. Jerry has mentioned that he was going to be here from OAK, and the superintendent recommends approval of this item.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve OAK as the risk contract, as manager at risk contract approval for Meadow Park. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We look forward to hearing that those bonds have sold and we can get going. Next is item F2C, the final drawings for Meadow Park Elementary remodel, renovation, and new construction.
And these have been down in the board office, I believe, this week for your review. Reynolds Smith and Hill representative Charles Gudikins is here this evening, and the superintendent recommends approval of this item.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the final drawings for Meadow Park Elementary remodel, renovation, and new construction. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have item F2D, Hurricane Charlie recovery, Charlotte High School Phase 4 Fieldhouse final pay request. Dr. Widmeyer.
The superintendent recommends approval of the final pay request.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the final pay request for the Charlotte High School Phase 4 Fieldhouse. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item F2E, the yearly review of School Board Policy Number 5120, Student Assignment Within District.
Yes, ma'am. The review of this policy takes place yearly for the purpose of the area that is in the East Elementary attendance zone but resides in the city of Punta Gorda. And as per our school board policy, we have said that we would review our projections, our attendance, the attendance zone, and the county growth every year to see if that particular boundary can be held in abeyance and permit the residents in the city of Punta Gorda to allow them to go to Sally Jones Elementary. So the recommendation this evening is to hold that policy, to hold that part of the policy in abeyance so that for another year, those residents can attend Sally Jones Elementary.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the yearly review of the School Board Policy Number 5120, which holds that section in abeyance. Any discussion? Mrs. Messina.
Yes, I just wanted to touch base one more time with Dr. Widmeyer. In the workshop, we discussed some changes to the policy that requires this annual review with the date on or before the meeting in May, and I want to make sure that we get that on the record.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, that is actually in the queue, and
Thank
so we are working on that, and that will be brought back to you probably in May.
Great, thanks.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item F2F, the revised 2009-10 year-round school calendar.
This has to do with the result of the load event, which caused our schools to be off for a day and have to have a hurricane day. Sally Jones and East Elementary requested that they change their hurricane day and to this Friday, and so approval is requested for this item.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the revised 2009-10 year-round school calendar. Any discussion? I would just like to comment that I'm really glad to see that we had the flexibility to have that request and be able to grant it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item F2G, the personnel action, job descriptions, and amendment number 1.
I recommend approval as amended.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the personnel action, job descriptions, and amendment number 1 as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have citizen comment. Ms. Smith, is there anyone wishing to address us this evening?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Brian Dunleavy.
Good evening. My name is Brian Levy. I'm a director with the Burnstone Meadows Homeowners Association. I'd like to thank you for not rezoning us. I have one question, but on transportation. Last year was brought up when this all came under that we'd have transportation for a year. If we're not getting rezoned, are we still entitled to transportation?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
For this year, yes.
For this year, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Because this policy is reviewed every single year, sir. And so next year, if in fact we cannot hold it in abeyance, then that would be a different story. But for the time being, yes, for the 2010-11 school year, you will be provided transportation.
I will go back and tell my homeowners. They'll be very happy. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Ms. Smith?
No, ma'am.
All right. Next is attorney comment. Ms. Young?
Nothing tonight, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Board member comment. Mr. Swift?
Just two quick things. One, this past weekend was, I think all of our, for the last 2 weekends, all of our high schools had major dramatic performances. I was able to see the one at Charlotte High, and it was truly, truly outstanding. I've heard good things about what happened at Lemon Bay as well. The dramatic arts programs in our district are making a huge leap forward in their quality. What I've seen at different places throughout the year it has been truly amazing, and there's some awfully talented kids, and I'm glad that we have continued to believe that that is an integral part of a student's education. We talked some this morning in the workshop about the upcoming FSBA meeting, which begins tomorrow, and the issues that you wanted focused on with our local legislators that we will be meeting with at times during the upcoming couple of days. If anybody thinks of something that is not that we did not talk about this morning, get in touch with either Mrs. Messina or I, and we'll try to track down the information or transmit whatever it is that you feel needs to be transmitted to our local delegation or anyone else that we come in contact with. That's all, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Messina.
Thank you. When we did our first visioning session all those years ago, and we came up with our vision for the school district of student success, we talked a lot about what student success meant. But to my knowledge, until 2 weeks ago, we didn't really ask a group of students what they thought student success meant. And we happen to have with us the Junior Leadership Charlotte group, which sends high school juniors from the different high schools, and they go through a leadership program 1 day a month in the different communities or in the different areas of the community. And 2 weeks ago was Education Day. So while they were sitting in here, we asked those high school juniors what student success meant to them. And so what I did is I compiled all of the information that they gave us and I put it in the form of a word cloud, which, if you're familiar with, is one of the new techniques that they use on websites and things for words that pop up at certain levels of popularity. And so I have one of these for each of the board members, the superintendent and assistant superintendents, to hang proudly in their office. And student success to our students, it was interesting because we had 26 students? 24, 26 students. Not a one of them mentioned test scores. Not a one of them. They talked about maturity and accomplishments and pride and opportunity, respect, integrity, helping others, being proud, having abilities and dedication and potential, but they did not mention test scores. Happiness, achievement, all kinds of really, really good terms. So I have these for my peers and for the assistant superintendents and Dr. Gaylor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All for me today.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Miller.
Yes. Thursday, March 11th, I attended the U.S. Navy Band concert in Punta Gorda, and it was a memorable experience. But the most impressive highlight for me is when they announced the participation of 9 of our band students from the 3 high schools. I'm certain this was an experience that they will never forget. And watching them up there on the stage, I was so proud of them and proud of our Charlotte County schools that evening. It was good thing. March 20th, I was fortunate to see and hear Stephen King at the Cultural Center, and it was an amazing hour and a half. But I like the fact that he told the audience how important it is to read to your children every day. And again, this is the kickoff for the big read. It was a wonderful way to start it. This is going to be a series of community programs and events based on the poems and short stories of Edgar Allan Poe, and it will last through April 30th. And Pam, you had an excellent article in the paper about Stephen King. Really enjoyed it. And Madam Chairman, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Rendell.
Thank you. Good luck, Mr. Swift and Mrs. Messina, as you embark on your journey to Tallahassee for FSBA's.
Talking about Lee's driving, or
for both. Well, actually, being there is probably going to be at least as bad as driving up there. Because we all know what's happening up there with so many of the bills, and I'm hoping that you and the other, 100 other school board members around the state are going to be there. And I think the PTA Association is going to have hundreds on thousands there as well. So hopefully you can talk with our legislators and convince them to maybe change some of the very troublesome parts of some specific bills, SB 4 and 6 and House Bills, 13, 19. And I know a lot of our employees have already called and emailed our legislators, so they are aware of what we think here in Charlotte County. And maybe you can also, that one-on-one contact with them can, talk some sense into this. It's really scaring a lot of people.
It really is.
They're all upset and worried and about their futures and the working conditions that will affect them. So, and I'm looking forward to. I know it'll be spring break when you come back, but if there's some way you could, or I'll probably call you at least and find out what's the feeling up there. What are they saying? What are our lobbyists saying? What are our please do that. Yeah. What are our lobbyists saying? What are our legislators saying? What are the other board members saying? What are school employees saying that are up there, the PTA members? So I'd really like to know what's happening up there. So thank you.
And I'm sure Ruth Melton at FSBA and Joy Frank at FADS will be putting out a detailed summary of the week's activities.
But to hear specifically from you what your take is on the whole situation up there would be really helpful to us. Thank you. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, it's a pleasure to congratulate Port Charlotte High School's Model UN team. They have won another state championship, their 8th consecutive state championship. 47 country teams from schools all over the state vied for 3 much-coveted Outstanding Delegations Awards, which is the equivalent of a first place. And Port Charlotte High School won all 3 of those awards. Another Port Charlotte delegation representing Iran was presented with a second-place Distinguished Delegation Award, and a fifth Port Charlotte High School delegation won an honorable mention. 18 individual awards of excellence were presented by the conference. Port Charlotte High School delegates won 15 of those 18. They have a very strong senior class that they will miss very much because they have been all through the years with Port Charlotte High School Model UN, and their record of the seniors is a record of 1,264 wins, 0 losses. So quite an accomplished group of young people, and we send our congratulations to them. March is National Social Workers Month. It's Music in Our School Month, and it is also Youth Art Month. And all of those things we know greatly contribute to student success and to the quality of life that our students have. So we're very appreciative of the contributions of the arts and our wonderful social workers who make some children's lives bearable that otherwise would not be. They really perform a valuable service to our students, and I'm so glad that we have them in the district. L.A. Angel Band, middle school band, who we were so pleased to hear at our last meeting, won a Superior in a recent competition. And Charlotte County wants to be Google's test community. So if you have not filled in the questionnaire, go to the website. It's www.floridaedo, that's the Economic Development Office.com, and answer the questions and help Charlotte County become Google's test community, because I know there would be benefits to the school district and our students as well if we can win that. And thank you to Dr. Widmeyer. It's been a great experience working with you once again. And thank you, Dr. Gaylor, for coming up with this great idea and giving the assistant superintendents this opportunity. Superintendent comment. Dr. Widmeyer.
Yes, I have a few things. First of all, thank you all for working with me, and thank you to my colleagues for giving me valuable information, and also for not harassing me too terribly much, except for Mr. Brasser. And, of course, thank you to Dr. Gaylor for the opportunity. I just have two more things. One is kind of directed at Richard Duckworth. Richard Duckworth is in charge, as you know, of the Master Fitness every year. And so it was early November this year, I believe. And so, you have to start training for that. So last Saturday, East Elementary had a fun run, a 5K run in downtown historic Punta Gorda. And I participated, and I am sorry to say I did not win. However, I did run a half 5K, so I'm a 2.5K runner. Came in dead last, so I've got a lot of work to do, Richard, but I'm working on Doc's Dash and Master Fitness for next year. And also, just want to let you know that my office will be notifying the Bernstore Meadows Homeowners Association officially of your decision this evening to hold that particular piece of the boundary in abeyance for next year. And we also plan to notify Howard Kunick and also the families of students who are in that area but who are currently attending Sally Jones Elementary. And for our kindergarten roundup, Mrs. Messina, at the workshop, you made that suggestion of putting something in the packet, and that's going to happen as well.
Thank you.
That's all.
Great. Okay, thank you. Dr. Gaylor, did you want to comment this evening?
Just briefly, you look very good under your new sign. And you certainly earned that. Thank you, Dr. Widmeyer. I know you love this. And I know that Doug loves it, and Jerry and Barbara will get an opportunity as well to love it. I know. We feel the same way. Mentioned spring break. That is, of course, coming up next week. So I wish each of you and all of our employees a wonderful and restful spring break. And when we come back from spring break, believe it or not, we only have a shade over 7 weeks of school left, and a whole lot of activity happening during that time. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, I do hope that you make some progress in Tallahassee and can bring back some good information for us. It's pretty disconcerting right now with what's going on. So go get them. And I will
be doing the other part of the work on the bonds, and we're really happy to be able to do some of that from Meadow Park and Lemon Bay. And I think our trip to work with the rating agencies is going to be fruitful this Thursday and Friday. That's all I have, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, with that, I did want to, and I think just to close it on a little bit higher note, we will note our wonderful high-performing school district sign, and thank you, Mr. Olivo, and anyone else who was a part of getting that for us. We're very.
Spur, I believe Mr. Spur had his hand on it.
Is that
too.
Mr. Spur's project? Whoever it is wonderful, and we're very glad to point out that we are a high-performing school district, and the meeting is adjourned.